Every day I look in that mirror, I think, is today the day that I'm going to kill somebody?
Those guys suffer significant brain damage.
The FDA to this day still has no classification for a cured traumatic brain injury. There is no drug that you can take. There is no procedures that you can undergo. There is nothing that you can do for a traumatic brain injury.
The most common psychological consequence of a traumatic brain injury is major depressive disorder.
Most common cause of death among those with mild levels of CTE was suicide.
It goes on with time and we have no cure.
I spent 28 years in the Navy, but it wasn't my thing. I have long hair now. I'm a hippie. I got into the accident September 14th. I got out of the hospital. I started on my own path to try and heal my own traumatic brain injury. We were making differences in guys' lives. We were stopping people from committing suicide. We were getting people energized.
Scientist and retired U.S. Naval Officer Joseph Dituri is living at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean for 100 days.
Right now, a Florida researcher is preparing to come up for air after 100 days under the sea. His name is Joseph Dituri, dubbed Dr. Deep Sea.
I had to heal myself. I had to. There was no choice. Like I said, it works. And this is why my traumatic brain injury is literally the best thing that's ever happened to me.
The experts say there's no cure, but one man disagreed and went deeper than anyone to prove it.
So I am 9 years old or so, and my father's boat is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So now it's at the point where he can't just pull it out of the water very easily. So he's got some kind of a problem on the shaft, and he tells me, hey, put your mask on, get in the canal in New York, dive underneath the boat, and take this thing called a zinc tab off. Well, the zinc tab goes around the shaft of the boat, right, which goes to the propeller, the zinc tab, and what I had to do was screw it in, unscrew the one that was on there, and put a new one on. I'd hold my breath, I'd come back up, I'd hold my breath, I'd come back up. I'm like, Dad, I can't hold my breath long enough. And I'm in the water, standing in the mud, and he goes, hold on a second. And he goes into the shed, gets my Uncle John's diving gear, and gives it to me. Now, we are talking diving gear that is, you know, we're talking the 70s, right? We're talking a double hose regulator, no buoyancy compensator, a tank on my back, strapped to my back, and that's basically it. So I get it all on, I put it in my mouth, and I start to go underwater. And he goes, oh, wait. Don't hold your breath. That was the only lesson I got in scuba diving. So I decided that I would start cutting school, taking my Uncle John's scuba tank, and diving in the canals in New York.
Nemo residio. It means to leave no man behind. And on the 19th of April 2025, I met up with a man who lives by that motto still. I traveled to Tampa Bay in Florida to meet with Dr. Joseph Dituri, a man who climbed to the highest heights of the Navy as a successful leader. Now he has a new mission.
Hi, my name is Joe Dituri, and I'm a clinical researcher. I was born in Oceanside, New York, and immediately my father had a job working for Olivetti, which was in Italy. So we moved to Italy almost immediately after I was born. I spent the first 4 or 5 years in Italy, and then we came back to the United States. My father bought a home, started a company, and started chasing the American dream. We were pretty close to the water, and my father had an affinity for fishing. So if I wanted to spend time with my pop, we were fishing. I graduated in the bottom third of my class. I wasn't deemed as very intelligent. I tried to apply to college, and they kind of sort of laughed at me. They're like, you? Then I wound up joining the Navy. So I joined the Navy when I was 17 years old. I left home when I was 17 and did not think anything about it. Now, when you're 17 years old in the United States, you're not an adult. So my mom and dad had to sign the paperwork giving the right for me to go into the military at that point. When you go to Navy dive school, when you go swim around the bottom of the pool, they do what they call sharking you. And this is where basically you and your buddy are swimming together. Somebody from the surface swims down, beat you and try and pull your scuba tanks off of you. Why? Because they want to make you comfortable in a very uncomfortable position. So instead of getting all hopped up and all hyped up and reacting, your job is to calm down and cool down. So you become calm in uncalm situations. They train that into you. Now, it's nothing. It's survival. It's easy. And you realize that panicking and worrying and breathing fast and that's going to do nothing to save your life. But what is going to save your life is you being calm. I mean, the bottom line is none of that training was fair, right? You're running in wet clothes. You're running in with sand all over your head, all over your hair. And talk about like the chafe between the legs. You do this, and all of a sudden you have these red, raw thighs on the inside. So they make you comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You don't stop. Like little things like they don't want you to itch or scratch your nose. Why? Because if you happen to be doing something where you are in a foreign land and you have an itch, and if you move, somebody sees you go like this, that's bad, right? So you need to be comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. If you don't have a vision board, you need a vision board. This is the things that I want to do in my life. The things that I have done have a line through them, and the things that I want to do are still goals, measurable, achievable, things that I want to be, things that I want to do when I grow up. What's your plan? That's the other thing that I tell people about when I'm going through it, when I'm going through the lectures at high schools and colleges for graduation, commencement exercises. You gotta have a plan. You gotta have a roadmap.
What's hair in space?
Hair in space. I want to be this person in space with my hair floating.
Like many of us soldiers, while serving, Joe faced stress and repeat trauma to the head. Approximately 67% of the military veterans in the United States have experienced at least one traumatic brain injury. Service members with TBI are at higher risk for mental health issues, including substance abuse, mood disorders, and suicide. But it isn't just soldiers. The problem is much bigger.
I spent from 17 till about 45 in the military. I just happened to gravitate towards it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Military has ranks. You start off as an officer rank. 10 years into it, I became an ensign, then a lieutenant junior grade, then a lieutenant, and then a lieutenant commander, and then a commander, right? So as you're going through these leadership challenges, first you get a couple of people, then you get a couple more people, and then you get to supervise more people, and then you get to supervise officers, and then you become a commander. And when I took command from Keith, who was the guy before me, I walked in and he said, let me tell you something. Every day I look in that mirror, and he points at the mirror and he goes, I think, is today the day that I'm gonna kill somebody? And I went, 4 Navy Commendation Medals, 1 Army Commendation Medal, a joint, it's just military awards, right? Really expert shot with a pistol, expert shot with a rifle, that kind of stuff. So, and then that is my special operations pin, and then the enlisted aviation warfare, enlisted surface warfare, there's the deep submergence insignia, and the dive pin. And I worked at Combatant Craft at SOCOM. So it's nice to have these paddles because anybody who's in the military walks by and they go, oh, you were that guy. And I can look and I go, I know everything this guy did by looking at this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's neat. So this is a Navy dive knife. It's a big, gaudy instrument used mostly for hammering, not for cutting, right? It's really heavy. This was the old dive knife from the old Mark V suits that we had back in the day. And I got this as a going away gift from one of the ships that I was on. A master's in astronautical engineering, for crying out loud. They're like, you really are a rocket scientist. I'm like, no, really, I am a little bit of a rocket scientist. So I have a bachelor's in computer science and then an associate's in general studies. Associate's science in general studies.
What's the one you was most proud of whilst you were serving on there? Is the one that stands out?
Medal-wise? really, like, Napoleon once said that man would risk his life for little more than a scrap of ribbon to wear in his uniform. I don't think a lot of any of these medals whatsoever. I love my dive pin because that was hard earned. And I love my deep submergence insignia because it's something that people just don't have and they don't do. So very few people with both those devices, and I got both of them.
So the deep submergence insignia is like a really tight unit, is it?
Yeah, it's real small community. You have to have been or serving in that capacity at Submarine Development Squadron 5 or something like that.
Many veterans live day-to-day struggling with mental health illness, and experts are concerned about the suicide rate among veterans. Our in-depth reporter Anthony Hill spoke with veterans, uncovering what's being done to make mental health care more accessible to them.
Somebody dies, it's your fault. Somebody gets hurt, it's your fault. You weren't watching. Something breaks, it's your fault. All your fault. This is why commanding officers are relieved. You read the papers and loss of confidence in his ability to command or her ability to command, they're fired, right? That's all they ever say. What that really means is that they messed up or something messed up while they were in charge. And the buck stops here, right? So not only could you get fired, who cares, you'll live. You'd kill somebody. And when I took command, every morning I'd look in that mirror and I'd go, be vigilant, Joe, because I do not want today to be the day that I kill somebody. I'd yell from time to time, and I'd make a scene from time to time, and I'd do things for effect. When you're swinging a 5,000-pound load overhead and you're working with all this metal and steel and you're bringing up a crashed F-14 from 2,000 feet deep, or you're salvaging the Ahimi Maru from off the coast of Hawaii, some big fishing vessel that got crashed, something like that, you're salvaging this stuff. There are no second chances, right? If somebody's standing in the line and the line parts, that person's dead. So when you yell at them, when you berate them, when you're like, that's the stupidest thing you've ever done, right? It's, you want that forgiveness from that person, but if they're gonna be angry at me, I want them to be angry at me for a long time because they're alive. When you have the first line part on you, and you get synthetic line snapback and you see it take out a steel bollard that's this big around, and you see it put a dent in that, you go, it would have gone through 3 people, right? Like, oh man. You being in charge is you being responsible for people's lives. You're humbled by the fact that you are in charge of this, and that responsibility weighs on your shoulders. While you're in command, there's no ego involved. You are struggling to stay alive. It's middle of the night calls. It's middle of the afternoon calls. Oh, you're gonna go work out? No problem, ring, ring, ring. Hey, listen, I got a question about this. Hey, can I have approval to do that? Can we do? Always on the phone, thinking, figuring out the next step, planning with your team, planning with your other officers and your chiefs and your master chief, and figuring out what the next evolution is, figuring out the next training with the training chief. If your men saw you panicking, if stuff's going sideways around you, I had a guy that got stuck on the bottom in a 1 atmosphere suit, and I'm on the surface. There is 0 that I could do, 0. Would panicking have helped? Would screaming, crying, yelling, wishing it was different? That's not going to help. What you have to do is take it down 3 notches, calm down, assess the situation, do the 5 levels of why did this happen, why did that happen, why, and figure out the root cause analysis so that you can fix it. That's the only way you can fix a problem. You have to have grace under fire. You have to be calm in a pressure-filled situation.
He'd spent years seeing the effects of brain trauma on others. Soldiers, divers, friends. He could see the patterns in them. The mood swings, the memory lapses, the invisible damage. But what Joe didn't realize, he was next.
And God goes, look, make it right. And I says, no, I got it. I'm doing this. I'm doing hyperacussion. He said, no, make a right, Joe. And I said, no, I got it. And then he threw a 6,000-pound SUV at me and said, now you have to change. Gave me a traumatic brain injury, and I had to heal myself. I had to. There was no choice. September 7th, I got into the accident. September 14th, I got out of the hospital. I started on my own path to try and heal my own traumatic brain injury. By the middle of October, I had done everything so far that I could think of, all in series. And then I got to the point where I was completely despondent, right? I got to the point where I was without hope. It was 9 in the morning. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and I wound up stopping at a red light, and somebody ran the red light and T-boned me.
For 2 hours.
Yeah, and I was knocked completely unconscious.
Driver's side, passenger side?
Driver's side.
No way.
Driver's side. So it hit me, bam, the whole side crushed in. My shoulder was messed up. Your head goes what they call a contra coup, right? So this is the coup.
Yeah.
This is the contra coup.
Yeah.
Bam. So I have a huge hemorrhagic stroke, prefrontal cortex, left side.
And there's just like a metal frame in there. There's no...
Thank God. Thank God it was solid metal. If I was in my current truck, I'd probably be dead. Yeah, it was a 6,000-pound SUV. Had pop locks, shaved door handles, so it was smooth on the outside. Paramedics couldn't get me out.
Wow.
I was
in there.
in the car. They pulled the door open, ripped the door open to get me out of the car.
No way.
Thank God somebody knew how to slide down these old windows. A guy that stopped, who was a car buff, knew how to get down the old windows. And
then you just woke up in hospital?
I woke up in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And the woman's like, hi. I'm like, who are you? Where am I?
Wow.
She's like, hey, doc, how you doing? And I'm like, so I look down and I have my scrubs on.
Yeah.
And I look at my badge and I'm like, okay, all right, go down. Wonder where I am. She's like, you were in a car accident. Are you okay? I'm like, I feel fine. And she's like, yeah, you're not fine. So I get to the hospital and the guy's like, listen, doc, you had a pretty good car accident. I'm going to send you up to the ICU, the intensive care unit, for 2 days, where they kept watch on me and wanted to drill my head, because he's like, I might have to drill your head. You have the pressure building and we're watching it. You know, these are brain injuries, you know, all kinds of problems like that. Holy mackerel. I said, that doesn't sound good, right? Like, I'm not even thinking. I said, that doesn't even sound good. Long story short, I spent 2 days there, 5 more days in the hospital.
Yeah.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was horrible. I was wrecked. I even made up a little sign that I carried with me that said, hi, my name's Joe and I have a traumatic brain injury. I am prone to fits of crying, anger. You know, how do you deal with me? This way, this way, this way. Here are the numbers. Like, I literally had this piece of paper with me so that when I got to the point where I would just ridiculously cry, I sat in that room over there and my guys were like, hey, sir, you got to go home. You're scaring the patients. Like, you can't just sit here and cry all day. I was miserable. So I tried to fix myself with the only way that I knew. Remember, I'm going this way. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy to increase cerebral blood flow. Dun, dun, dun. Wrong, not enough, right? So I did it for about a month and I fell into such a deep depression. I was so bad off, it was horrible. I decided to commit suicide, and when I did, I'm Catholic and I have 3 daughters. So I said, okay, if I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna atone and go up to heaven, I hope. I know I'm not gonna get there, but I have to basically be able to look him in the eye and say that I did everything that I could. So I needed to do everything at that point, right? So I picked my day, and my day was December 8th, which was my birthday of 2021. December 8th of 2021, we're talking mid-October. I did not have enough time to do everything in series like a normal scientist would do, right? A normal scientist would do this first, then this, then this, then that, and see which one was more effective and most effective, right? And see which one moved the needle more, see which one changed my objective quality measures. Yeah, I didn't have the time, so I just did everything all at once. And when I say everything, I mean everything. People said, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, right? Makes sense to me. Neurofeedback therapy. Oh, sure, we're gonna mess with my brainwaves, sounds great. Cognitive behavioral therapy, you gonna talk to me more? Great, let's do that too. Red light therapy, beamer mat therapy, grounding, facing east, watching the sunrise, putting the red stuff in your eyes, you know, all of these things that were possibilities that might help, I tried at the same time. So that was mid-October, I started that, had made the decision to commit suicide, and I said it was gonna be about a month and a half later. So basically after the first month, the end of November, the idea of suicide was completely off the table, right? I was getting better in leaps and bounds. Holy mackerel, now I'm getting better and better and better and better. And I'm tuning myself up and I'm tuning myself more and more and more. Drug-free, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the neurofeedback therapy, the structural energetic therapy, all this stuff combined. Oh, I was back.
In the pursuit of saving his own life, it seemed that Joe found the secret to helping others. In his 28 years of active service, he spent a long time working with hyperbaric technology. It was essential to his work. Over the years, he began to notice the positive effects it had and developed a deep passion for hyperbaric technology.
First recorded traumatic brain injury was over 1,000 years ago. Only in the 1300s was there literature that stipulated a minor difference between concussion and traumatic brain injury. 1,000 years. How's it going? How we doing? Oh, that's right, we suck at healing traumatic brain injuries. To this point, the FDA, to today, the FDA has zero indications for a completely healed traumatic brain injury. There's no end state that they have that suggests a healed traumatic brain injury. There is no approved therapy from the FDA in 1,000 years. So whatever we're doing needs to change. The way that we're coming, like look, we had broken legs, broken arms. We figured out a way through it. Oh, we have to set it. We have to set it in plaster of Paris. We have to make sure it's immobilized. And then we have to change that. Oh, hold on. Now we got these new casts. They're better. We can set these things. We can, we have the ability to improve on things like broken arms, broken legs, right? Traumatic brain injury, what do you get? When you get a traumatic brain injury, you get diagnosed and you get discharged. And you know what the guy told me when I got discharged from the hospital? All you need is a tincture of time. I was like, what? He said, a little bit of time and you'll be fine. I'm like, that bullshit. I'm sorry. That is some crap. Like, you can't just say that to somebody. I said, is this how you treat people? You can't do that. The FDA to this day, to today's date, still has no classification for a cured traumatic brain injury and no way to work it or help it or do anything for it. None. No proved anything that says this works for traumatic brain. There is no drug that you can take. There is no procedure that you can undergo. There is nothing that you can do for a traumatic brain injury.
According to the Center for Disease Control, there are 5.3 million Americans living with long-term disability related to traumatic brain injury.
Researchers found the most common cause of death among those with mild levels of CTE was suicide.
Many psychological conditions occur at a higher rate among a traumatic brain injury population. Probably the most common psychological consequence of a traumatic brain injury is major depressive disorder.
What I've always wanted is to do pure research in this form so that I could advance this science so that people could get better. That's what I'm looking at. What I'm trying to do is basically take a FDA-approved drug, hyperbaric oxygen, that has been approved and in use for the better part of 350 years, right? And is FDA approved for several indications. And I'm trying to take those indications that are currently off-label and move them to on-label. I'm trying to push the science to the next level. Why? Because we need it as a society. Like I said, we're going to Mars, we need to figure this out here. You know, there's greater things than you and me. I put my money where my mouth is, and I invested in myself and my own research.
U.S. Naval Officer Joseph Dituri is living at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean for 100 days. He's doing it as part of a NASA study and began his mission March 1st.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Deep Sea, aka Dr. Joe Dituri, living in my undersea habitat for the next 100 days. And guess what, guys? We are going to science the shit out of this. That's right, a 49 of a 100-day expedition.
74 days. That's how long this man has been living underwater.
Right now, a Florida researcher is preparing to come up for air after 100 days under the sea. His name is Joseph Dituri, dubbed Dr. Deep Sea.
Stayed underwater for 100 days, and that got me a lot of good things. Why? Because I did that research so that the population of the world could understand the mechanisms of action of hyperbaric medicine. I retired from the Navy. I did that one gig for James Cameron and his team, and then I came back, and I'm sitting at Admiral McCraven's house. We're sitting there having a beer, and he goes, "So, Aquanaut, what are you going to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He said, "Hey, listen, I need a little help on the preservation of the force and family. I would like to see if we can do something about veteran suicide." So I sat on the POTIF, Preservation of the Force and Family, for a couple of months, and I watched them talk about traumatic brain injury and PTSD and guys killing themselves. And I am not a talker, I'm a man of action. So I came to him like 6-9 months later, and I said, "Hey, it's not working. What we're doing is this, and we need to do something more than that." So what I got relayed was permission granted, go fix the problem. All right, now I got to go back to school because I'm not smart enough, right? I got to go back. I got to get a PhD. So I went back, I got a PhD in biomedical engineering, and I started pursuing the path of doing things that could increase cerebral blood flow. So one thing that I know increases cerebral blood flow is hyperbaric oxygen. So, right, I'm fixing the problem of traumatic brain injury like this. So to be clear, I am agnostic of any chambers. I don't make money from selling chambers. I don't recommend chambers. I recommend chambers that are ASME PVHO approved. If they're metal, I recommend chambers that are cleared at 510K cleared. I recommend chambers that are appropriate and proper, right? So that being said, I can then say anything, right? Because I'm not on anybody's payroll, right? Now, there are people that are leading the industry and innovating the industry and looking at what the industry needs. The reason why I like HPO Tech, and they don't pay me to say this, I like them because they innovate. There's a sit-up design. They have these built-in breathing masks, which are safer by a long shot. They pay me $0 to say good things about them. I say good things about good products, right? Now, if they ever chose to put something bad out, I promise you, I would be the one that goes, "That's some bullshit."
Spending time with Joe, it was easy to see why he was passionate. But he was driven by something far greater than him. Nemo residio. In the Navy, the first rule is, you don't leave anyone behind. Not in the water, not on land, not in the fight for your mind. Never. Joe was funding all his travels and tests. Since 2020, Dr. Dituri has overseen early treatment protocols for veterans and athletes, protocols built on his underwater research. Though still evolving, the results are undeniable. A randomized trial in combat veterans with PTSD found a 17-point drop on PTSD scales. A study of veterans with mild to moderate blast TBIs using 40 sessions of hyperbaric therapy showed significant improvements in memory, cognition, PTSD, depression, and a complete reversal of abnormal brain scans in 75% of areas.
When was the last time you took a month to take care of you? Right? So here's me. I got a mortgage payment, I got a dog, I got a car, I got a girl, I got a whatever, this, that, I got to pay for the building, I got to go to work, all this stuff sits on my shoulders, right? If I'm carrying a pack of all this stuff, if I took that pack off for 1 month, got myself better, got myself stronger, made myself better, could I carry that pack then? Better, longer, further, more effort, more in the pack? Yeah, absolutely, right? But people don't think like that. They think, no, I gotta drudge through it. I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going. Well, you don't. Put the pack down. Oh, you're not a medical doctor. I'm like, I know. I don't have a medical opinion, but I do have an educated opinion, right? And I've been through those trenches, and I've had the traumatic brain injury from both concussions in the military, being blown up, and being hit by a car afterwards. So that's actually quite cool. That's my one atmosphere suit pilot. There are 35 pilots in the world. My number is 21.
And cool. That's the suit right there.
The one atmosphere suit, yep. It's an artist's rendition of it. But you know, the thrusters up and down. Here's the actual suit.
I mean, it just looks like something out of a movie.
It looks like something out of a movie, isn't it? It's really cool. I had this picture taken by a professional photographer. I was standing out here, but these are one of my guys. This is Kavini Turner. He's a Navy chief now. Dave Glidewell. And this guy, unfortunately, had passed away. He was a retired master diver, and he wound up passing away. It's unfortunate, but but it just reminds me on a daily basis of the hardworking people that we had in that. So when you get that rush, when you get that cold, this should not be about being scared or miserable or. This is about conquering your own self, right? So the water's almost zero, right? I think it's maybe 1 or 2 degrees right now because we have the top open. But this is you against the cold, right? This is inducing hormesis. This is stressing those things, releasing those cold shock proteins. Releasing those endorphins. And I got a timer. 3 minutes. That's it. So if you're looking to heal the bottom of the body, you're looking to heal the musculature, you're looking to heal anything that has gone on, traumas, you basically have to turn off the brain in some way, shape, or form. Nowadays, they do it with something called a stellate ganglia block, and they do basically a block on the vagus nerve. This does it for a short period of time. So if you're looking to heal, disconnect this and then go to counseling immediately after this. Do these therapies in combination. That's the synergistic effect of all the therapies and modalities that I talk about. They have to be done in combination. That's the key. Because if you do it alone, you find that if you can't, you're never going to heal the human body if you don't treat it physically, physiologically, and psychologically simultaneously. If you don't do it all at the same time, you're going to leave something open. And I'll give you a perfect for instance. I got hit by a car, and when I got hit by a car, I got a traumatic brain injury. 8mm hemorrhagic stroke, prefrontal cortex left side. But I also got hit in the shoulder. My shoulder bumped. So every time I moved my left arm, it reminded me that I had a traumatic brain injury. So I didn't heal it physically, right? I never went to physical therapy for my shoulder. So that was the important part, was getting back to physical therapy for my shoulder and getting that healed. So here we are, we're 3 minutes down. I've been talking the whole damn time. It's not a problem, right? But you induce that hormesis. Now this part's important. You gotta make sure you have your ducks in your ice bath, because if you don't have ducks in your ice bath, you're not having fun. But when you get out of the ice bath, you don't get a towel, you don't get anything. You do your Wonder Woman pose or your Superman pose, because those two things, those two poses, have been shown to increase testosterone in a study by Harvard, right? So that's really easy. You're not cold. Are you cold? You were cold when you were in there, now you're not. It's mind over matter at this point. So we took a football player and a military guy, and we put them side by side. A Super Bowl ring-wearing MVP wide receiver who'd been hit 1,000 times, right? And then a guy who lost his entire platoon in Afghanistan. We put those guys side by side and we did an intensive outpatient protocol. And one of the guy's wives was a medical doctor. And she said, "What are you doing to my husband? What are you doing to my husband?" And I showed her all the protocol. And she said, "Yeah, you can do whatever you want. None of that's gonna make an effect." 2 weeks into it, 2 weeks into a 1-month protocol, the wife comes to me and goes, "All right, medical doctor, all right, tell me what you did, because I have a different man at home. Well, what's going on?" I brought all these providers in one space so that everybody came to this building where the patient was. Patient-centric care, as opposed to, you got to go to the chiropractor? He's over there. Oh, you got to go to the energetic therapist? He's over there. The cognitive behaviors over there. The hyperbarics is here. No. Patient-centric, right? Everybody came here. Long story short, we were making differences in guys' lives. We were stopping people from committing suicide. We were getting people energized. Like I said, it works. And this is why my traumatic brain injury is literally the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Under Dr. Dituri's guidance, a safety director and protocols lead at USF, these treatments are now part of a state-funded, rigorously controlled trial. That means more veterans have access to a therapy that can actually help. Hundreds of lives have been reshaped, but more importantly, these numbers represent real people. Soldiers, athletes, everyday heroes who found their way back.
I spent 28 years in the Navy doing stuff that retrospectively, looking back, was great for me, but it wasn't my thing. I have long hair now, I'm a hippie, right? I'm fixing stuff for those guys because I love that group of people, that mentality of that group of people. I love them and I want to take care of them, so I'll always do for them. But if you can find what floats your boat, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the accolades. Don't worry about anything, because your boat is floating. I'm on the ark, man. Are you kidding me? I'm having a great time. Why? Because I'm living the life that I feel like I'm supposed to be living. And if you're not doing something that floats your boat, stop doing it. Stop doing it now and get on the boat early. If I had gotten on this boat earlier, maybe I wouldn't have all the experience I have. Maybe I wouldn't be able to speak from an informed standpoint that I do. But I'm telling you, being on this boat is the ride of a lifetime. Think about the kids that are going to high school right now. Their jobs are literally not invented yet. Literally not invented. Like, not figuratively. There were people that were going to school 10 years ago, high school 10 years ago, that are now famous Instagram influencers. That was not a career 10 years ago, but now they are, and they're making money at it. So stop worrying about what you're gonna be and where you're gonna go. Find what moves you and do that. But you induce that hormesis. Now this part's important. You got to make sure you have your ducks in your ice bath, because if you don't have ducks in your ice bath, you're not having fun.
Oh, everyone loves the world record. That's pretty cool, man.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress as everybody else is, right? All we're trying to do is do the very best that we can. So do as much as you can, follow your mind, having passed the gut test, right? You know, so.
So last year I decided to do a pilgrimage, a physical feat of carrying a headstone from the north of Scotland, 480 miles, back to my son's grave in honor of my son, but also to work through the pain and emotion that I was feeling. With that came one of the most difficult physical journeys that any human has ever faced. I carried a 100 kilo stone for 30 miles, and then I carried a 25 kilo stone for another 450 miles. And it absolutely destroyed my body. Physically, my muscles were broken down. We experienced rhabdomyolysis. I tore ligaments and had stress fractures and scarring all over my body. That's when I started looking into hyperbaric therapy, and HBO Tech, being the leaders in the space, were the first name that came up. So I reached out to the team and I explained my situation. I explained the physical feat that I'd just done and what I was trying to fix. They felt that hyperbaric therapy could be the answer to that. So they flew out the Zugma unit to the Mulliganbrothers studios, and I've been using it for the last 3 to 4 months now. And when I say I've had a drastic difference in the brain fog, that would be an absolute understatement. Whenever I finish a session, I have absolute clear mind. I feel like memory recall and cognitive function is just 10 times better, and my physical recovery has been better as well. It feels like I'm sleeping about 10 hours instead of the 5 or 6 that I usually get. I can't recommend it enough. If you have the opportunity to try it, that's why we think HBO Tech is a great partner for the Mulliganbrothers channel, and we're hoping to do some great work with them.